happy Monday, and welcome back to the final full week of the Rocketeer Minute, where each and every day, Monday through Friday, we've been going over the greatest adventure movie Walt Disney's ever made, the 1991 Joe Johnston direction feature, The Rocketeer. I'm one of your hosts, Jim O'Kane of TVDads.com.
And I'm Hal Bryan, an airplane nerd from the Experimental Aircraft Association here in Oshkosh, Wisconsin. And Jim, I think I hear it.
Ooh.
You're listening to a special Billy Campbell episode on the Rocketeer Minute. Ladies and gentlemen, Billy Campbell.
Oh my goodness! I can't believe you insist on doing that.
Well, there's not many more left. I mean, we're just.
But wait, there's more.
There is more. There is indeed. We have another guest with us tonight. We're working without a net, and we're very excited to welcome Amy Young, formerly of ILM, who worked on pyrotechnics on this movie. So we've got the head of the acting department and somebody fresh from the explosions department. Amy, welcome to the show.
Thanks.
It was quite a. This is really the be all and end all of Kaboom.
Yeah.
We're watching poor Lothar about to meet his savage end, just barbecuing away. Did you work any on the floor effects there as that was going off, or?
Well, a lot of that stuff. Yes, I mean a lot of that stuff is elements. And there's, blue screen. It was blue screen back then. So, yes, there are two specific sets. We had the Hollywoodland set, and then we had the Zeppelin. That was, where the big explosions were. And then there were elements and small things for miniature stuff, like miniature Rocketeer, miniature plane.
Yeah. All the maquettes and things. That is a beautiful job there as we watch the last moments of Lothar, as someone had to draw that ever shrinking mat around him to make him disappear into the smoke. But a great end for Tiny Ron. If you're going to go out with a bang. How was the night there, Billy? When you were doing that, was it a cold night doing this, or
on top of the Zeppelin?
Yeah,
it was. It was. I remember being cold. Until, of course, the explosions went off. And then we were instantaneously very, very warm. And I remember coming up to ILM, Amy, and doing I guess it was a blue screen, hanging off the ladder as the explosions were under us.
I remember watching you hang there. and also Timothy Dalton hanging, and he got blown up too. Yeah.
That's right.
Billy, very quickly, there's I can't tell, like, there's an illusion, like right in sort of second one, as just before Lothar turns around to see the explosions coming through him. It looks like off to the left side of the screen I can see ground and maybe even like a tree or something.
Oh,
Am I completely hallucinating, or was the set was obviously fairly close to the ground, but how high up how tall was it? How high up were you?
I think we were 40. I think we were 40 feet or so at the apex of the Zeppelin section. They had to be fairly high up to get enough of the curvature.
Sure.
And but it's not unthinkable that you would be seeing a piece of the ground there that they figured would just sort of not be noticeable in all the excitement.
Right. Absolutely. I've never noticed it before now, so. So, again, like so many other things, it's taken me 25 plus years and frame by frame. No complaints from me.
How many times did you have to run that route with you and Jennifer having to run the length of it?
I really don't remember. But it was they didn't do it too many times. They had a series of explosions ranged behind the Zeppelin, and they blew them off, the furthest one away first, of course, and then successively closer. I think there were, you can count them, boom, 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 boom. Maybe there were
should have been four because what we did at ILM is we sort of matched that with our model, except instead of the view that of Lothar, ours was the side view where you see it going down at the end, but it went in four sections and moved down So
Yeah.
yeah.
Wow. Now, on the autogyro, which is Hal's point of interest, I know.
Sure. We'll get to that in a moment.
Yeah, that autogyro is just a stunning bit of. I'm assuming that's a model work, and just a couple of great composites there between the Zeppelin moving back, the tail of Zeppelin moving away in the distance as the autogyro is coming in. How big was that autogyro model? Do you know, Amy?
I'm gonna have to guess, but it wasn't very big. It was motion control, miniature, so. And I know miniature can sometimes be big, but I don't think it was very big at all.
Oh. I have seen pictures of the blimp model, and that was anything but miniature.
It was huge. It was.
I remember seeing that.
I just was talking to Steve Gawley, who was the head of that project, and I asked him how long it was, and now I can't remember what he said, but it's about 3 car lengths to 4. Car length, big ones,
Yeah, it's substantial. It's a lot bigger than a lot of people would realize.
Yeah. And the intricacy on it too, all the girder work and just incredible.
Well, I don't want to take up too much of Billy's time because he's got to go soon. But I've got stories. I mean, I could tell you they actually used the Hindenburg's plans because another person who was the head of grip department, his name's Dick Dova. His father was one of the survivors of the Hindenburg. He's the guy that jumped. He was the acrobat that jumped onto the car.
Really? The one that played by LeBeau from Hogan's Heroes in the 76
Yeah, I
film.
guess.
Philip
Yeah.
Carey, yeah.
So his name was Ben
Robert Clary.
Dova Spa, and Ben Dova. That was his name. He was a. Yep. And he was an acrobat and clown, and Dickie was just like 3 or 4 years old, standing on the tarmac watching this burn, and he was given. So his father was given a very old book that had the original building plans, and Dick lent it to Steve to use to build the Zeppelin that we used to blow up.
That's cool.
So
What an amazing piece of trivia.
Yeah, and it was amazing. When we'd watch dailies, I remember Dick sitting next to me, and he had to get up and leave because he started crying because it was just too real for him. So, yeah. So we did a good job.
Yeah.
Yes,
No, it's incredible. I mean, we're looking at this, and even though the cameras were motion controlled, this is all a real effect. It's a floor effect. I mean, it's real. You're adding film elements and things, but just watching the whole motion of that beautiful craft is incredible.
Well, the Zeppelin, we took it out to an Air Force field here called Hamilton Air Force Base. It's not active anymore. And we hung that thing, and it was hanging from, I think, 4 cables. And the cables had cutters on them that basically you rig, and they explode, and they cut. And then, so that's why it looks in that last frame like it's starting to fall. So we'd cut the cables, and it would, one by one, it would start to fall, and the sections are going off. And when you see that tail section close up, billowing and burning, that wasn't CG. That was really happening. So
wow.
Yeah, it was.
What kind of pyros do you use in that to make it the different colors of flame? Is it similar to fireworks, or how are you getting the different?
Gasoline, naphthalene. We use primacord. Yeah, those are the basics. Yeah. Lots of gasoline, gas bags. You basically fill plastic bags, a Ziploc bag with gasoline. You put a match in it. You tie it up. You pack it in where you want to put it, and that's what you get. And sometimes you put debris in there. I don't remember if we used any debris. I don't think we did, but man, there's some beautiful debris coming off of that thing.
Oh,
and
it's such a great explosion.
Those big streamers of smoke and.
Yeah.
There's some spinners. There's some stuff spinning. I noticed when I was watching the minute that you sent, and I could watch it frame by frame. I was like, wow, I don't think I noticed that before. And that's what's so much fun is when we do this and we watch it in dailies and we slow it down, that we see that.
See all the stuff that you didn't quite know to expect.
Well, because it happens so quick
Yeah,
when you're actually filming it. And we had a lot of cameras on it. And I'll tell you one more piece of trivia. I don't know if you know this, but we had to do it twice. Because the first Zeppelin, and there was only one built. Disney had the recommendation. Somebody from ILM recommended that we have two, just in case something happened, and they said, no, we just want one. And so we built that thing, and it took a long time, and it didn't go right. The explosions, everything, there was just a big accident. It went in the wrong direction. It didn't work. And so we had to build another one, and we had like 2 weeks to do it. And they did it. Those guys, we have some really great model makers, and they did it, and it just came off really well.
On that impressive note, I'm afraid I have to bow out. I actually have to go back to work. I'm so sorry, but
no, it's fine. We have to do this just on behalf of all the Cardinal fans out there that you're trying to get season 2 finished so they can watch it on TV.
It's true. So I'm so sorry about that. And Amy, I hope that we can talk again because I'd love to reminisce about the Renaissance Fair.
Yeah, sure. We'll do it.
All right, Billy. Well, we'll take the next 20 minutes to play your closing theme.
Oh, my goodness. I'm leaving at just the right time. All right.
Okay.
Take care, everybody.
Take care, everybody.
Okay,
bye.
Billy Campbell, ladies and gentlemen, thank you.
I feel like
well, he's still there.
The bank closed ghost. There we go.
He's gonna wait until
I'm leaving now.
Yeah, that's what he says, right?
Yes, now he's just going to sit and listen.
Now we can talk about. But we will. He'll be back. I'm sure before we end the series, we'll be back. We've got 8 more episodes to go. But it's just amazing. How did you wind up in ILM, Amy? How did that all start out?
Well, without giving
I'll put my feet up. It's okay.
Without giving a long journey, I'll just try to condense it. My father was a theatrical manager and Broadway manager and producer, so I was into the field, and so I was just going the theater route. But I'm in the San Francisco Bay Area. I knew I wanted to do technical stuff, so I got into the Stagehands Union, which is local. When you work in the Stagehands Union around here, you go to the theater one day, you go work a convention the next day, you go work on a film set for a few days, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I was just really lucky to get a call to ILM, and at the time I was an apprentice, and they like to keep the apprentices working. So the steward at ILM at the time just kept me working, and people got to know me, and they kept me around. And I had also just gotten my pyro license because while I worked at the San Francisco Opera, there were other pyrotechnicians doing pyro there, and I just really thought it was interesting. And so I started studying it and took all the tests and got all the licensing and just got into it. And it was, at the time, I was the only woman in the state of California with a pyrotechnic license. And I think I'm the only one that's ever worked at ILM.
Wow.
Amy, just very quickly, you mentioned living in the Bay Area.
Mm-hmm.
You were born in that area? You started
Actually,
there as a kid?
No, I'm from New York City.
Oh, okay.
I'm from there originally.
So, was just curious. I was born in the Bay Area. I was born in San Mateo and lived in Burlingame for the first several years of my life. My family still has a house in Burlingame Hills.
Oh,
so
nice.
Anytime I hear about the Bay Area, I always reminisce a little.
Yeah, well, it's we've had quite some heat lately, but it's also the fog's coming back too. It's a beautiful place, it's a gorgeous place.
I have to ask, if you were working at ILM in the 80s and 90s, they had a lot of pyro jobs for you, I would think.
They did. I mean, the 90s, we say among my colleagues, we get together once in a while now for some parties, and we all reminisce, and we say the 90s, those late 80s, the 90s were a really special time. Special effects, visual effects were starting to come in, like with The Abyss and Terminator 2, that kind of stuff. We had a lot of commercials. We had tons of commercial work. But yeah, there was quite a bit. I should have had my list with me of stuff that I've done, but let's see, Backdraft, that was a lot.
Oh yeah, that's all firework.
It was all pyro.
It was all pyro, and Always is another one with a lot of
effects.
Oh really? Oh, one of my very, very favorites.
It's a beautiful
I spent a lot of time
film.
I spent a lot of time with Steve Hinton, who did a bunch of the flying in that picture.
That was a beautiful film. Yes. And Terminator 2, and
cool.
Yeah, I'm forgetting, but there's lots of stuff, and sometimes it's just elements, and sometimes the pyro department is actually not doing any pyro, but water effects too.
Oh, okay.
There were Star Trek films in there too. Blew up the Enterprise. Yoo-hoo!
Oh,
that was fun.
Really? That was you?
Yes. Blew up the saucer section. Yeah.
Wow.
I always get misty-eyed every time they blow up the Enterprise. But
yeah.
So you're bringing drama and emotion to it. So you're doing your job. I won't blame you for it.
Yeah, but sometimes it's water effects, like the end of Terminator 2, when the I forget
the T-1000.
The T-1000 is melting.
Yeah.
It's actually a big pool, and it was in a sort of a clear, tank, and filled with water, and just have somebody in there just thrashing water around, and so you get a lot of that, and just filming the water effects. And sometimes you have flame balls just coming out, and you're just filming that.
Did you get to work on any of the Star Wars episodes 1, 2, or 3?
I was right in between 4, 5, and 6, and 1, 2, and 3. I worked on special edition, and there wasn't any pyro in that. I mean, I wasn't always a pyrotechnician. I would work in the grip department. I ran the shop for a while, and I did costumes too. And so that's what I did for the special editions. Is we had some added scenes that needed costuming. Wow. And I did that, and I did model making too. So, but
I guess there's never a dull moment in. It's always something like it.
It was a really, and it was such a special time and a fun place. Special, incredibly talented people. I just feel so honored to have been there. And when I was a kid, I was 14 when Star Wars came out, and I never would have imagined that I would have been able to work with those people, because I was still in New York. So
yeah.
Who would have thought? And then, it happened. And it's like, man, I cannot believe this. I cannot believe this. So, yeah.
Wow. Well, no, it's good that you found your bliss with this. Definitely, it sounds like you had a really good time there, and not that many people get to do something like that. So,
no, and it was a special group, family. Really, they're just really special people. It's
really been a lot of fun with what we've been doing over these past 100 odd episodes. Just hearing all these people that were involved in the production, and everybody, no matter what job they had, they all seemed to have a really good time with the production of this film. And it's nice hearing that even on like the post production things like that, it's still it was a lot of fun.
Oh, it was very much involved, and take it from the top. Joe Johnston and Ken Ralston as well. Ken Ralston was he was the visual effects supervisor, and they are both a lot of fun. Ken is a ton of fun. I don't know if you know this. I might have mentioned it in an email, but we were talking about the Rocketeer helmet, because I sent you a picture of me wearing a screen-used one. And Joe actually stood in for Billy in a special effects shot. So we have pictures of him in the costume, and how
cool is that?
So that was a lot of fun, and those guys were a lot of fun. And we had our wrap party at a bowling alley in San Francisco, and somebody had the idea of taking production stills. They weren't like complete production stills. They were I don't mean complete. They weren't good quality. They were just
Snapshots
and stuff kind of things, and they were like negatives that had been printed on paper. There we go, proofs. And there's a picture of Joe, but you don't know it's Joe, and in the Rocketeer helmet. And I was like, oh, I'm gonna pick this up and have him sign it. And so right there, had him sign it, and I have it over my desk.
Aw.
Oh, that is so cool.
And the film itself, we had fun doing it. And then when you go to see a film, you don't always know whether it's going to be good or not. You just have fun. I always had fun working on films there, and sometimes there were some films I worked on that were so much fun, and then we go to see them and we were like, oh my God, this is horrible. But this one, this one is so special. And, everybody in it, Billy, hats off to Billy. It was fantastic. The story, the music, the cinematography, just gorgeous film.
It always amazes me how many people haven't seen this movie, because it's such a, this is up there, to me, it's up there with Star Wars, Indiana Jones, any movie that you want to recommend to somebody, and you can not even hesitate and say, why don't you watch The Rocketeer? Yeah. It is a great film. And, when people see it, everybody that I've known that I've recommended to is like, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
And it just never, unfortunately, it came out right before Terminator 2, and Terminator 2 just kind of wiped it off the map that summer, and it was...
Which was partially Amy's fault, we have to point
out. Yeah, I know. And I've heard you guys talk about that on previous episodes, and it's funny, I didn't think about that. I didn't link them, but then I also heard you say, talked about the marketing and how it should have come out maybe as a Touchstone film instead of a Disney film.
Yeah, it was all the beginning of, this is between it was right between The Little Mermaid and Beauty and the Beast. Mm-hmm. So people think, where's the princess in this story? And
right.
Jenny Blake is not the princess, but it's okay for it.
Well, wait a minute, doesn't she play a princess?
She's a Saxon princess. Yeah. So, oh well, yeah.
I think Lisa Peterson is the real princess.
Yeah.
Oh, my prince.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
But, if Billy were still here to defend himself, I'd say he was the princess. But that's no fair.
Yeah.
He was okay. He was. Yeah. But it's just it's just such a remarkable film, and it's such a great story, and your special effects help sell the whole thing. I mean, you're watching this big. We've been watching this Zeppelin burning for the past 10 minutes, and just having this big kaboom of an ending. It's very satisfying.
It was. And it's sad. The explosion. It was really satisfying too. I have to tell you, I just remembered when we were done for the evening. It was probably 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, probably 3 in the morning or something like that. And I was driving home, and it's pretty quiet around here. Crickets, cops have nothing to do in the middle of the night. And I don't know why. I was pulled over just a couple blocks from my home. And cop pulled me over, and I opened the window, and he kind of jumped back because the smell of gasoline and naphthalene coming off of me was so strong. And I had to,
wow.
Oh,
yeah.
So just what have you been drinking tonight, ma'am?
I know. And I explained it to him. He was like, okay, get home and take a shower.
Oh. I was going to say,
really blow up a Zeppelin tonight.
In that part of the country, I guess it's a little bit more accepted. I had a quick question about, this amazing shot of the Zeppelin model blowing up in sequence like that, and that timing is so exquisitely perfect. The backdrop there, is that a matte painting, or was that just live footage composited? Do you happen to know?
I have to guess that that's a matte painting.
That's what I was thinking.
Because what I'm not sure about is because at ILM right now they have some of the old matte paintings hanging in the hallways, and they have one like that, but I think that one's from E.T., but they're very similar. I don't know for sure, but I know that in Rocketeer there's a lot of compositing, and there was animation as well, because the party I went to not long ago for Star Wars, I talked to a couple of the people who worked on Rocketeer, because I thought we were going to be talking about the Hollywoodland explosion as well, and Timothy Dalton flailing his arms about. And so I talked to the two guys that did did that shot, and it was a combination of compositing and animation. And I just completely forgot what you asked me about.
Oh, it's just about whether that was a matte painting, that
the matte painting,
view of the
yeah.
LA basin back there.
So it could have been, or it could have been animated. But yeah. They just had they had the elements very much like what Billy was describing, that they had the explosions in the background. And then there's Timothy Dalton hanging off of a harness in the middle of our soundstage. And then there's also the miniature elements as well. We did this outside at night in like a courtyard on our facility there. And it was a big, big hillside, beautifully done by a couple of model makers. Should I mention their name? Randy Ottenberg and Chuck Wiley. And I'm sure some other people worked on it too, but they principally did it, and they decorated it with all the sand and the greenery and stuff. And then the words, Hollywoodland. And it was a shot late at night with cranes holding up basically a miniature of what would have been Timothy Dalton, and it just gets dropped down. And boom, and knocked, and see, we see it happens really quick. And then you see it in dailies, and it slows it down, and everybody was just clapping and laughing, and it's just, yeah, it was really fun.
Was Dalton a good sport when he was on the soundstage and in the harness and things?
I don't really remember seeing him in any other position than hanging. So it's like I went. I wasn't there all the time. Didn't need to be on that shot, but you go through the soundstage, you go by there, and there he is. And
James Bond up on the ceiling.
There. Exactly. No. I mean, I recall him smiling, so I guess it was okay.
I guess if he were especially difficult, you'd probably remember that.
I probably would have remembered, yeah.
And, one of the many things that really just amazes me in this minute is so beautifully done is the dissolve, if I'm using the term correctly, Amy, from your magnificent explosion right to the most perfectly quintessential of Southern California things, the sunny day and the oranges.
Yeah.
Orange tree right there, going from the orange of the fire to the oranges themselves on the tree, and Millie picking them. As soon as we see her out there, it's a sunny day, she's picking oranges, instantly everything's okay. And of course the juxtaposition against that horrible explosion as Cliff and Jenny are just barely rescued. It's just a master stroke.
Yeah, it is, and necessary, I think, because whenever there's something like that, an explosion, you're very unnerved, and you need that. You need something to calm you down, and right. That was her role in that film, wasn't it? She was the steady person to keep everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. She was
your Aunt Millie.
Yes, exactly. And I wish she was my Aunt Margot Martindale. Sorry, my Aunt beloved character actress Margot Martindale.
Yeah.
And the funny thing with what she's holding in her hand, that wooden bucket, we know that our super finhead Mike Bruno owns that bucket and the big plastic oranges that she's pulling off the tree. It's very disturbing.
We just saw a picture of it today. Today being the day we recorded this, today or yesterday. We do record these in advance and out of sequence, but
he has a whole bucket of those plastic oranges and the bucket itself. So
it's fun to keep that kind of stuff. I have stuff like that around. I can't name off the top of my head, but they look practical, or like things you just have in your house. But oh no, that's from this film, and nobody would know that. Cool. But you have the memory because you know what it's from. So
one bit of continuity that bothers me is I think. Oh, no, I'm sorry. It isn't. I was thinking that might have been the Buick from the South Seas Club, but I don't think any of
the black car that drives by.
Yeah,
that's. I had thought that at first too, but the black one, that's a Chrysler Airflow.
Oh, it
beautiful
is a
streamlined Chrysler
Airflow,
34. Yeah, just absolutely a gorgeous car.
Yeah.
So very quickly before we let this minute get away, we've got to talk for just briefly about the Autogyro. Dearly love these machines. This is about a 1931 or 32 Pitcairn PCA2. We've talked about it the full-size mock-up we see in Hughes' hangar very early in the film. There are 3 that survive in the world. I have said earlier on the show that there are 2, and I just learned that Canada Aviation Museum has sort of major portions of one. As far as I know, it's unrestored and mostly just a hulk. But the other 2, one is at the Henry Ford Museum in Detroit, and number 3 is right here in Oshkosh in the museum, the building where I work, and was flown in maybe about 10 years ago, so it was still flying pretty regularly, at least as of 10 years ago. Of everything in this movie, there's probably, this autogyro rescue is probably the single thing that, to me, is the least plausible. I will buy the rocket pack, I will buy any of it all day, every day. And it doesn't mean I don't love this movie to death, but you've got this autogyro really acting like a helicopter, especially when you see Billy and Jennifer Connelly getting sort of lifted straight up away from the Zeppelin. An autogyro really is much more like an airplane than a helicopter. That rotor up on top isn't powered by the engine. It just spins freely in the wind. So this thing has to be moving forward at a pretty good speed all the time. Now, the Zeppelin has some forward motion, but nowhere near enough for that autogyro to sort of hover there. And for it to carry that much weight, especially that much weight on the end of an arm like that ladder, it just couldn't do it. And you know what? It doesn't matter because it doesn't ruin the movie for me even one tiny bit.
Now, I think I might be able to fix it for you. If you'll recall, that was in part of Howard Hughes' Special Projects Division, and he had guys crawling all over it.
That's true. He had a lot of guys with lab coats and clipboards.
Yeah, so
and guys like that can do anything.
Yeah, there's probably an arc reactor if you want to cross intellectual
cross
property.
The streams.
Yeah.
And then Howard Hughes tore his face off, and it was Howard Stark underneath, right?
Yes, possibly.
There you go.
But it is a nice trophy for ILM to create such a thing and make you believe it.
Absolutely, and it is just gorgeously done and gorgeously shot and everything else. It's, you say you'll never hear me complaining about it.
Well,
but I wouldn't be the airplane nerd if I didn't call it out a little bit.
Well, and it's skill from people, people who work there, like Amy, who make all this stuff a little bit more believable. And in only the briefs, we see this for maybe 5 to 10 seconds, and it's long enough for your brain to buy it.
Right. Yeah, the lighting was good. The editing, every little piece of it, and that's why they call it industrial light and magic. The people, everybody who comes together, everybody has a little bit of magic that they do and do their elements. And suspend disbelief. It's one of the things that's always been kind of funny for me is when I heard you talking about how believable or not believable it was, that I love to go see these films when they come out, and even though I've worked on them, I'm not thinking about the raw elements of the film. I'm looking at the whole thing just like everybody should be looking at it. And to the story, we all have friends that sit around and like to pick something apart, especially when we get to like Star Trek films and things like that. And I go, you know what? Just suspend disbelief. Just watch it. Just, it's entertaining. People go, it wasn't like the book, or it wasn't this. And I'm like, you know what? It's a different art medium. It's that director's vision. It's just take it for what it is. So.
Good for you. It's so funny because when we first started talking to Billy, at one point it struck me early on. I was a little sad for him because I felt like, well, when he watches this movie, he remembers the sets and the takes and things in between times and behind the scenes and stuff like that. And, did he miss out on an opportunity by being in it? Does he ever really get to see it the way that we do and the way we have loved it so much for so many years? And I think he's now at a point where he can go back and do that, even though he can reminisce. I get the sense from him that he can kind of turn that part off, just like you said, and just watch it and enjoy it as a movie, which, as Jim and I have done countless times over 2.5 decades plus.
Yeah, I love it. Well, it's got to be something different for an actor. And they all are different within their group too. It's easy for me to, because I don't have a face that's on the screen, so it's different.
But you have your work there, and I think you probably see it as like, oh, that came out too bright, or that explosion wasn't big enough, or there's too much smoke in it. But nobody else notices that.
Right.
That's one of the hard parts about being very meticulous is that you're the only one that's going to get annoyed by it.
And something we've pointed out again and again on this show over the last 101 episodes, so hard to believe, is that this is a movie that we zoom in on, and we go minute by minute, and we go frame by frame and talk through it because of the love and affection we have for it. Quite frankly, we are just never disappointed. The deeper we look, the closer you look, the more you pause and dig in deep, the more wonderful details and things you find. So it's never about, Billy razzes me about sort of picking fleas, and I confess to that, but it's, it comes from a place of affection, and it comes because I'm amazed that it holds up to this kind of scrutiny.
Speaking of scrutiny, I just was wondering, Amy, you've met Joe Johnston.
Mm-hmm.
If we go to second 59, all the way down the end, the next morning they're sitting in their little spot in the diner. Mm-hmm. Over Cliff's shoulder, there's a man sitting there, and is that Joe by any chance?
Let's see. I don't have it open. Let me go. Oh. So I can roll this while we're on, right? So
sure.
Yeah. We won't hear the audio, so, but it helps to maybe turn the volume down just so it's not.
Okay. Let me see if I can turn the volume down. Sorry.
Oh, there goes poor Lothar.
Yes, we heard him scream.
Okay, sorry. Now let me forward this thing.
Yeah, if you scrub it all the way to the end,
yeah,
just the very last second there over Cliff's shoulder.
I went too far. It started over. Yeah.
I'm not convinced that's him.
He
looks like somebody, but...
Well, I'll take a look. Right now. Aunt Millie's picking the oranges. And there's the dog. I went too fast. It's pausing on me. Okay, I'm looking at the people in the background. No. No, I don't know who that is. But he looks familiar, but he doesn't.
Yeah, we're always figuring it's either, the stunt coordinator or somebody else that was, second unit or somebody.
That stuff happens all the time, especially at ILM, because the actors won't be there necessarily. We can't have the actors for everything we need to do. So they started doing this at ILM, and they call it the Body Parts Club. And you'll have like in Terminator 2, there's the one where the foster mom's arm turns into metal.
Yeah.
And so they got somebody to, they filmed their arm. And so that wasn't that actress's arm. It was somebody at ILM. I stood in for Laura Linney in Congo. I've been in a Star Trek uniform on top of the Enterprise when it was blown up.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
I
mean, there's other guys. There's go back to Indiana Jones. There's a guy who was in that shot where they had him on the ground under the truck.
Yeah.
And then there's another shot grabbing the idol. That they needed somebody else from the back wearing the hat. So there's all kinds of. There's all kinds of substitutions that happen.
And anything for the art. There you go.
Yeah. So it could be fun, I mean, there was a couple at ILM who were the couple kissing on the bridge in Hook. That's another favorite film that was done there.
Wow.
They have beautiful matte paintings for that. But yeah. So yeah, well, and I told you, Joe put on the costume and he substituted. He was in it, and I wonder if Billy's got does he say that he got to keep a helmet? That would be cool if he did.
No, actually, he as we've talked to him previously, he said the only souvenir that he had was a menu from the Bulldog Cafe, and he gave it to a Navy SEAL that he met, and he passed that on. He said the fellow was a big Rocketeer fan, so Billy, being the nice guy that he is, just handed off what he had. And I guess he's got enough memories from this to last him a lifetime.
Right.
And fortunately for us, he shared with us the memories that he has of this film.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so have you, Amy. I really appreciate this. You reaching out to me and being willing to talk about this. I know ILM is a bit of it's a mystery to most of us on the outside, and it's fine. It's fine to keep that mystery, but it's fun to hear how things went at the time this was all going on.
Well,
it is a real privilege.
Yeah, well, thanks. I want to thank you guys. I've really enjoyed listening to your podcasts. And like you were saying earlier, you can look at this thing frame by frame, 1 minute at a time, and it's actually making it more interesting and more endearing. It really does. And I love what you guys talk about. I love the aviation information. and the clear love that you have for the film is just, it transcends and it goes across and seeps into us, who are listening.
Oh, that's very nice to hear.
Well, we're glad you enjoy it. I mean, mostly it's Hal and me talking about a movie that we really like, but it just kind of spills over into other situations. But we're glad we've been, and we talk about this just about every other episode about how amazing it is that this has opened up a world of other people that were involved either in the production or in after the movie came out, the collection of little bits of ephemera from this movie that people want to feel a connection to this film. They find it very uplifting. They find it as a kind of a film that sometimes it's lacking nowadays. You enjoy films, but your special effects are great in this film, but it isn't really a special effects movie as a front end. I mean, it's not you're not going to the movie for the special effects. You're going there because it has a story that everybody can relate to.
Right, and that's what makes Elements. I mean, that's why sometimes as great as special effects can be, sometimes it's just you're hit over the head with it. There's just too much. You need story. The story.
Yeah. And you need storytellers. I mean, Joe Johnston, if anything, he is a great storyteller, and he honed his craft at ILM. So getting this background in what kind of amazing tools that you have and how those tools can be used to tell a story. He obviously, he's got it down pat with you can see in every frame of this film.
Yeah, he tells some great stories. Another good one he did was October Sky.
Yes.
Yes. That's another favorite.
That had quite a bit of pyro in it, I would think, too.
Yeah, I didn't work on that. I'm not sure where that was done, but I did talk to him about it recently, and he was like, he was like grabbing his chest. He loves that film, so.
Yeah. It's good. Well, someday maybe Hal and I will do the October Sky Minute, because I think there's a lot of fans for that one, too.
Yeah, we dearly love it.
But this movie, more than anything else, this makes me want to go back to California, because I see this and I'm envious of you waking up in the Golden State every day. It's just it's such a
smelling the eucalyptus trees.
Yeah,
yeah, which they're not native, so
yeah,
yeah. But those golden hills, which can be scary when it was drought, but now we don't have drought.
That's true, but just being able to go out in your backyard and pick oranges, that's quite a feat, and. I mostly have to put shoes on when I go out in my backyard because there's cactus here, and fire ants. But it really is. I mean, both it's a love letter to Hollywood and to aviation and to California. So I think those three, it hits home in a lot of different aspects.
Yeah, definitely.
But again, thank you very much for your part in this movie and making this the better movie that it was.
Yes.
Oh. Thank you. It's, I was just a little part, there were several pyrotechnicians working on it, and, I was just part of the team, and I'm really lucky to be involved. I'm so glad to have been involved.
Well, it all came out just right. So I know there's if you were in the back of the theater clapping at your part when the El Capitan when it premiered. Hooray for you.
Yeah, definitely. Well, yeah, we got lucky then that we would get to see it Saturday mornings. There's a local one-screen theater, and we would go see the screenings, and then you go see it with an audience too. And woohoo! You go, yay!
That's so much fun.
Yeah. So
Jim and I have never sat around watching people listen to our podcast. Well, at least at the time we're recording this.
Yeah.
At the time, by the time this episode is released, who knows? We may be outside your house right now watching whoever you are that's listening.
That's right.
Yes.
That's right.
So you check behind you if you're on the treadmill or out on a walk with your earbuds in.
Nice. Don't pay attention to that man behind the glass.
Exactly. And coming up next on the Creeper Minute.
It's 2 thumbs up. Here you go. But Amy, thanks so much. Billy, wherever you're at, thank you for being a part of this show.
Yeah.
And if you're around in the neighborhood, please don't forget to check out Hulu and watch Billy's show Cardinal airing at a streaming service near you. For folks who want to continue on this conversation, we have a lot of places you can do it, all the usual spots. Twitter, Rocketeer Minute. You can go to Facebook, facebook.com/Rocketeer Minute. The big site, RocketeerMinute.com, where you can catch up on all the previous 100 episodes that we've already completed. And plus this very next week is the last week, not even a full week. So get in your final 10. I'm not even going to tell you to subscribe anymore, because if you haven't figured it out yet, we're on iTunes and you can sign up. So just you can do that for the last 8 episodes. So you know how to do that. So we'll skip that part.
We still want reviews, though.
Yes, please.
We're quite vain.
Long after we're gone, long after we've moved on to other things, and people are saying, "Oh, remember that Rocketeer Minute thing?" People will still read our reviews. So please go out and leave us a review. iTunes, Google Play. You know how to find us, Rocketeer Minute, and hit search. But we will be back here as we start on our this is the second and last Tuesday. This is the last full week, so this will be our second to last Tuesday show. But join us here as we sit around and eat breakfast with Cliff and Peavy and Jenny. This will be our last meal inside of a dog. But join us here tomorrow on the Rocketeer Minute. Until next time, over and out.
Go get him, kid.